Booyah! It's time for the Game Sports Podcast. Booyah! It is for sure for a lot of reasons here on the Game Sports Podcast. But I gotta relax for a second. We got the introduction to do here on the Game Sports Podcast. The game is powered by 91 Network, which is a YouTube channel. You can watch video editions of the show. You may be tuned into that right now. Make sure you hit like, follow, subscribe, comment, all the fun things. Follow on social media, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, at the Game Sports Podcast to get it all in all the interactions, or you maybe tune in on one of the audio platforms, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, wherever you're tuned into of the Game Sports Podcast. Make sure you're following it along, and we appreciate all the frequent updates for the past few months on TikTok and interactions and all the pages we've been interacting on. We love the fan interaction, and we are going to be getting into that more in the second segment with the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. But in the first segment here, we're going to be talking top shelf, all about the National Hockey League and what just transpired in the NHL draft lottery and the NHL. Before segment 2 will be with Jordan Trudeau, where we'll be talking about the Chuck-a-Puck segment. And segment 3 will be our Strike Zone segment, where we get into some baseball. Nonetheless, Brendan, my friend, hi, how you doing? Before we get into everything, how are you doing, my friend? How is life? How was your trip? We missed you here on the show. It's been a month plus since we've had you on.
Yeah, Dave, good to be back. Peru was awesome. Good to have a little R. And man, what a crazy 48 hours it's been for Toronto. I mean, you had the media veil with Helly, Sundin, and Chayka, and everyone's been tense and on edge. And then an article came out, courtesy Chris Johnson, about Matthews unsure if he'll return in the fall. And then tonight, it is a city collective exhale as the Leafs will be picking first overall. I cannot believe that. I cannot believe it. I can't.
TSN, where you are employed, had a draft lottery simulation, Brendan.
I know, ODOG Trade Center.
And what was the result, to remind listeners of that draft lottery simulation? Who won the draft lottery?
T-Dot.
Is there going to be...
I cannot believe it, man.
Is there going to be an investigation?
I saw, before we started recording, I saw this tweet, or sorry, a message on X. It drives me nuts. Is now Sundin, is he going to go for Stenberg now with the Swedish connection? You know what? I just say, I think you just got to go McKenna, right? I know it's not like an absolute, like, undisputed McDavid or McKinnon or Matthews here, but like McKenna is the dog, right? Like, I don't know much about the Stenberg cat, but I think it's got to be McKinnon, no?
Would you not would you explore a trade? Would you explore a trade for 2 or 3? Let me give you 2 quick scenarios. Vancouver, McKenna. Vancouver has assets that they can take, retain salary. Someone like Pettersson, guys like that. Would they, not saying that's the trade package, I'm just saying that's the one thing. Second thing, San Jose. You know what San Jose has in the pot? A lot of prospects. And they have a lot of people they can move up. Why not trade number 2? Maybe you throw in, let's be bold, throw in Michael Misa and your second overall pick, and we'll give you Gavin McKenna. How's that sound for a little trade? And you get Mike Misa and Stenberg. Let me say the Leafs now, this is where Chayka, this analytics perfection that he's claimed to be, which I can't wait to talk about Chayka a little bit. Why not think, or there's other players too. There's actually a pretty good draft. Top 7 picks, you're getting a good player. Would you not consider trading that pick? Is that an option here?
I don't think if you have the number 1 overall pick, because think of it this way, if Matthews does, which at this point I think he's going to, if he says bye-bye, check please in 2 years, you still have likely McKenna. And then at the same time, Matthews is reading this today saying, holy shit, we're gonna get the first overall pick. And then he can play with them for the remaining 2 years. So even if, let's say the Leafs win it all, right? And they have Matthews goes to frickin' Anaheim or San Jose, and the Leafs still have the number 1 overall pick.
Think about it this way, Leafs Nation and hockey fans. The Leafs lost Mitch Marner, a very elite playmaker. Don't get me wrong. Gavin McKenna does it all, baby. Guy does it all. He can score. He can pass. His vision is wild. He's finesse on the ice. Wouldn't he just look peachy on the wing? He can play center. He can play both. He can play the wing with Matthews and Matthew Nice. I don't know. Just throwing two names out there. I don't know. That's a pretty good first line. And when Matthews is a GoDaddy in the slot, and McKenna's like, oh, toe drag, backhand, toe drag, grab the neck, whatever he's doing out there. Michigan tapped the stick through the legs to Matthews. It's going to look real pretty. So what a coincidence. And we're going to talk about Matthews. I didn't like that comment today. If you don't want to be here, leave. I have a comment about that. We'll get to that in a second. Draft lottery, stay positive. The first overall pick, the Leafs have so many options here, Brendan. It is drafting or trading. I think if they trade, they could just ream the farm system out of a team. You want Gavin McKenna? San Jose, I want Misa. I want your first. I want this. Okay, that's too bold. Okay, well, all the owners and GMs think that of Chaika anyway, so who the hell cares, right? So, Vancouver, you want that pick? Okay, you want that pick? I want your pick this year. I want your pick next year. I want your pick the next year. And I want Elias Pettersson on 50% retained. And I want you to take Riley and take his full contract. That's how bold you can be. Screw it how bold that sounds. You can do what you want if you want that generational. I'm not going to say he's Connor McDavid or Connor Bedard, but he is still going to be a damn good hockey player in this league. And let me tell you where I think McKenna's going to be. Celebrity level. Celebrini came into this league with people like, he's not generational. He'll be good. What do you do this year? What do you do? 115 points because he had the people around him. McKenna's coming this league with Tavares, Matthews, Nylander, guys around him already, which is going to be absolutely sexy. So if you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, you either sell that pick at King's ransom or you draft McKenna and you get what you need to get a number one defenseman on that team. And then this retool.
Well, okay, so who do you think they should go after then? McKenna or Stenberg?
McKenna. Easy answer.
Okay.
Easy answer. I'm sorry, Stenberg's.
And you don't want to see him actually don the Leaf jersey. You want to ship him out.
McKenna? No, I would either draft. If I'm drafting him, I'm keeping him. But I would dangle that pick and be like, who wants it? Or you want it, San Jose? Well, you're gonna have to give me this. Oh, you can screw off, John Shea. Okay, see ya. Because guess what? It doesn't matter if you don't want it. I'm still drafting Gavin McKenna. So the Leafs can do whatever the heck they want. But I'm concerned about the people running this team, that they're going to make the right call, to be honest with you.
I think we're overthinking it, man. I think you pick McKenna, you let him play with Matthews for 2 years, and then if Matthews leaves, which he probably will, you still have McKenna, right? Like before Fair. Matthews, they only drafted first overall one other time. That was 85 when they got Wendell,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
I mean, it was 10 years ago they won the lottery. Almost to the day. I don't think you trade the first overall pick, man. When was that? Like, we need to get Jerry on that. When was the last time someone traded their first overall pick?
Honestly,
was it 99? Was it the Sedin year?
Yeah, that is the last year. Yeah, that is the last year. Yeah.
Well, it hasn't happened in the century though. So I know you're high on this Michael Misa cap, but man, like I think you just enjoy the night and enjoy the offseason. It's been a disaster few days, and I think if you're part of the Leafs clan, it's a big exhale.
So to go through the NHL draft lottery results, just to remind everyone, the first overall pick is going to be the Toronto Maple Leafs and likely drafting Gavin McKenna. As much as I talk about trades, guys, on here, I want to make sure I stress I hope they draft McKenna. I got my McKenna jersey ready. And if you see a thumbnail from a few shows ago, it says Gavin's best fit. You know what's funny? It's his Penn State jersey. Pretty close to some blue and white in there. I'm just saying, we're already pretty close. Number 72 is going to look very nice on the blue and white. But if you trade him, if the Leafs are going to trade him, I hope if someone in the brass is seeing this, King's ransom, man. Like, I mean, something so astronomical is out of the movie Draft Day, for goodness sake. But the Leafs get 1, San Jose 2, Vancouver 3, Chicago 4, New York gets number 5.
Man, if you're obviously Vancouver, that sucks. And New York, that stinks too. Like San Jose, they already have Celebrini, Smith, Eklund. I mean, if you're Mike Greer, you're licking your chops right now.
Are you taking Stenberg or are you taking one of Verhoefer Reed? I think that's a team that could trade down realistically, because I don't think they need forward depth. I think they would not mind some more defensive depth.
Yeah, I think they could use a defenseman big time. So that could be certainly a route that Greer goes. Well, they were in a playoff spot earlier this year, and then they just missed it, right?
God.
He does. Did you see Sundin? Do you think he called Matthews like tonight They must be on the phone with him tonight, being
right
like,
now. While we're talking, they're on the
yeah.
phone.
So what do you think about this right now?
That comment you said earlier,
Well,
you want to retract that statement, or what do you want to do?
I
So
mean, Nylander, Domi, but they were all watching. They were posting it to Instagram, man. This reinvigorates the team. So was that like he's checked out, or he's waiting to talk with Chayka and Sundin
he
more
will
in
not.
depth? I mean, this must change his mind now. Like, how does it not?
If it doesn't, 2 words: get out. I don't care.
Yeah, if it doesn't, then see ya.
Yeah, I don't care, because now guess what? The Leafs do have the first overall pick, and we have someone who can replace you.
I honestly, with all the burner accounts, man, like I had to watch that live. If I was just scrolling on social media, I would throw my phone at the wall because I'm like, no, this is bogus. I had to, like, even though I watched it live, I still had to, like, quadruple check. It still feels like yeah, no, like
Like what happened? Like it feels like a pinch, Now,
yeah.
the other thing, because again, time, I know we're short on. So, Chayka and Sundin's press conference. There's one thing I'll say about the press conference. I want to give it to you to talk about more than me. 2 people had paper, 1 person didn't. Matt Sundin didn't. The other 2 did. Keith Pelly, this chat GPT nonsense, I believe it. Sorry. Simmons' comment about Chayka. Look, I'm not sold on Chayka because of what he did in Arizona, and I don't think he is the right guy. I'll say it. Sundin, love it. Love all of that. And his answers were perfect. And that part where they're looking at each other, you want to answer, bro? You want to answer? You're the GM of the hockey team. Show some backbone, because this media is going to tear you apart, John Chayka. I was not a fan of that press conference, but today puts a whole new perspective on being a Leaf fan. But I want to give your take on the press conference for the Leafs yesterday. Or today's May 5th, the press conference happened May 4th. So that press conference happened May 4th. What do you think?
Yeah, it was definitely like an awkward media veil, but I still think you have to let them work. Like, you don't want to assess it too early, right? I think you assess mid-season. I think you roll the dice with Chayka, right? I know his history hasn't been that great with the Coyotes, but everyone deserves a second chance. And with Sundin, I think it's cool. Even though we don't really know exactly what his role is, it seems to be every job title but president. I don't know if that's for security or insulation, whatever you want to call it. But it's cool that Matt Sundin is part of this front office, and that's someone who embodies the Maple Leafs. So I think it's important just to, like, let them actually get to work, and then you start pointing fingers, if you will, halfway into the season. But I don't think it's fair to just be like, that's it, that's all. And I think a lot of people will start crawling back now that the Leafs have the first overall pick.
I think so too, but I honestly feel that press conference, Simmons's comments were just wild that came out. I did not expect that to come out.
Yeah,
but
that's who he is, though, right? I mean, he's been doing that for years. That's how he makes his money, and he's on like the back nine of his career. So at this point, if he gets canned, I'm sure he's got a nice, healthy pension waiting for him. But I do think, yeah, like, Chayka was there with his wife and 3 kids. Like, if I was in his position, I'd be pretty pissed as well. And it's just, it's rude. You can be aggressive and persistent as a journalist, but I don't think you need to, come from the top rope and start calling him names and criticizing him. All you had to say was, hey, I spoke to X amount of people, and 90% of them said, it's not a good fit. Like, you can paraphrase it in a different way and say, hey, it wasn't, they're saying you're not the guy. Like, how do you respond to that? Something like that. You know what I mean? But, he's the guy who always steals the headlines. He also was the guy that made that article about Matthews having COVID in 2020, and Matthews piped back and said, I'm not answering your question because what you wrote was unethical. So you can run into some choppy waters if you're going to act that way. And sometimes you might get a punch to the nose. So I think Chayka handled it pretty well. I'd be pissed. And like I said, I think you got to it's kind of typical Toronto market. You do have to let these guys go to work and give them, some time here.
I like that point. Good perspective. I've been on the other side of it. I haven't supported his comments. I want to know that. I think that it was kind of gutless to say it in that direction, especially given legacy players being in the room and family. But there's still an opportunity there for him to say it in a different matter. I agree with that. But I will stay firm that, you bring up a good point about giving them a chance. I guess the negativity in me is coming out a little bit, if I'm speaking as a fan, but as a sports person and as a podcast host, it's been the same story. Babs got hired, and you look at the people, it seems to always be the same circus. I just want to see change, and then I think the opinion and the mindset will change in Leafs Nation. But the last topic, Brennan, is Leon Draisaitl for a minute. Not only is he Connor McDavid calling out the Oilers with not being good enough, saying that we had too high expectations and we were an average team. You got Leon Draisaitl that's mentioning that we have the best player in the world, and the best player in the world is going to walk in 2 years if we don't get better. What do you say about the Oilers? They have their own drama to deal with, it seems like. In my opinion, having a good GM at the helm. I'm a Stan Bowman fan. I have been, for what he did, like not for what he constructed a good team in in Chicago. Like I've said before, I'm not talking about the background stuff, but this is someone, Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid, did not make it past the first round, lost to a team that's arguably.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a Leaf fan and you're watching 29 and 97 in their end of year media avail, you're wishing Matthews and Nylander talk like that. Like, take some onus, take some responsibility. Leon and McDavid were in the Cup final the last 2 years, and now they're out in the first round. So it leaves a bitter taste in their mouth for sure, and it's also a shot to the front office to say, hey, we need a better supporting cast. We need better goaltending. Your goaltending has been awful the last couple of years. Can you imagine they had like, I don't even want to say a Hellebuck, like just, I don't know, like a Wedgwood or something, or somebody
last year,
Stolarz last year, something like that, right? And they're pissed off. I know it, but they still take the brunt of everything, which I think is why they're so beloved and people appreciate their work and effort. But at the end of the day, I think Bowman has to take a lot of this at him. He's got to take a lot of the bullets.
So last thing we'll say before we wrap up, second round has begun. We won't have time to do I don't mean time just in here, just in general. I'm not going to upload a clip about when we're hitting game 2 of the second round. But obviously I had my predictions thinking that, my prediction beginning was Buffalo, Colorado final, with Colorado walking away as the Cup champions this year was my prediction at the beginning. As you can see on clips on TikTok, check that out.
I like that pick.
It's a boring pick for the winner, but I obviously was cheering for the Oilers. Yes. My underrated, I would love to see a Minnesota Buffalo final. I think that would be so cool. Teams that haven't done it. You got Minnesota has a lot of veterans, but we don't have to sit here to predict. We can save our predictions for the conference finals overall. But this Minnesota Colorado series is by far going to be the most entertaining. And I said that before their 9-6 game. And going into action as of recording tonight, May 5th, there is game 2 tonight going on. But I think it goes without saying that the second round is going to have a lot of storylines, Brennan. But is there any upsets and any series that you're keeping an eye on in particular as we continue into the second round?
Do you want me to just give you my winners for each series?
Yeah, let's do that. Give me your winner instead of mine. Give me yours.
So I initially had Dallas to win the Cup. So womp womp. So give me Minnie over Colorado. Give me Anaheim over Vegas. I guess that's an upset. Buffalo, Habs. That's going to be tough. I'm going to take Montreal. Okay. And then Carolina and Philly. Carolina hasn't lost yet in the playoffs. I think it's got to be Carolina.
Yeah, when I look at Carolina, I say I have a weird feeling right here. I just look at them and go, they're looking like a wagon right now, But I think their toughest matchup is waiting in the other round, Buffalo, Montreal. That's where it's going to get tough for them.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And it's been like that for them since the last 4 years. So we'll see how the third round goes for them.
Well, they don't have Florida to battle with this year, so that's a green light special.
So in a night, May 5th, 2026, we waited to record, and I'm so happy we did, because in the event of waiting to record, you didn't get to see our live reaction. My kid heard my live reaction, and he was crying because I was too excited. Let me tell you, son, going to be a Leaf fan, you're in for a long haul in this household if you're going to be upset about dad yelling about the Leafs. Jokes aside, Leafs win the draft lottery. Second round has had some good storylines. I'm loving the Minnesota series in Colorado. Montreal makes it. Buffalo, Montreal, love that. We have Matthews wanting out of Toronto that I'm sure wants back in there.
Yeah. Cancel this flight.
You have Draisaitl, McDavid, calling out management. Lots to dissect. Any final thoughts, Brendan, before we go to break?
It's funny. A year ago, May 5th, 2025, the Leafs were up 2-0 on the Florida Panthers. and now we're celebrating winning the first overall pick. Isn't that wild?
That is wild. And if
I
you
know.
want to talk about retool, the Leafs have the golden ticket now. See what Sundin and the lads do. I didn't say the other guy's name. Sundin, and general manager of operations is not a title. I'm sorry.
It's senior executive advisor of hockey operations, which just seems like a glorified title for president, I guess, but he's not president, so he can't shoulder a lot of the responsibility if things go south. So I don't know. It seems to be a cushioned role to preserve his legacy.
What's your white shoot in the office? The special assistant to the manager? Is that him?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's like it's what it seems like. John Chayka is general manager of operations, Sundin senior executive of like these are fake titles. These aren't real titles. But
do you think Berube stays on as coach? I've been saying yes since like the Olympics, but I might be in the minority.
Is it right that my mind is saying yes, but my heart's saying no?
I don't think so either. But I wonder if Alex Parr will make a return now that there's some hope in Leafland. Have you talked to him? We should get him on for a cameo or something.
I think so, because now that he's going to have a bit more to cheer about. I'm waiting for the message about the Leafs, but the only people that have messaged are about 8 friends have messaged me, but Alex Parr is not one of them.
Throw something in the group chat and see if he pipes up.
Yeah, he should. Gavin McKenna's face is going to be my picture. Gavin McKenna to the Toronto Maple.
Perfect.
Love that. Okay, Brendan, thank you for taking the time. We're going to take a quick break, but before I sign off, to go to that break, Brendan, again, thank you for taking the time, my friend. We are back every 2 weeks. We're going to be doing the show. So as we hit near the draft, Brendan and I will do a draft preview for you, but thanks again for taking the time, dude.
Thank you, man. Had to do it on the couch because I was still in shock over the Leafs winning the lottery.
And if you hear Brendan's TV in the background, it's because he's keeping an eye on...
It's the Wild and Colorado game. It's 2-1 end of the first.
That's where we get our live updates, okay, everybody, just so you're aware. All right. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, Jordan Trudeau's coming on to discuss some chuck-a-puck in the major junior hockey scene in Ontario. Welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. Your host, David McCaig, continuing to host you this evening. We're going to talk chuck-a-puck, all right? Now, chuck-a-puck is known here on the game as being more local focused is what I mean to say. Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, but we talk all major junior, in particular the Ontario Hockey League. So no, it's not just the Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds, but of course that is the meat and potatoes of our content. And guess what? We do have some Sault Ste. Marie Greyhound content in the Chuck-a-Puck as promised. But first, let me introduce who's going to be co-hosting and leading the way, as he always does on this segment. The one, the only, Jordan Trudeau. Trudes, the French teacher of the past, the scholar himself, the legend, as we hear on TikTok. How's it going, my friend?
I'm good. How are you? Been a while.
It's been a bit. We had to schedule conflicts. We're now on the bi-weekly schedule of the show.
Yeah, but I mean, it's good to be here again. It's good to talk again. I mean, obviously, I don't think anybody's really surprised on the results. There wasn't really much to cover anyways. But
honestly, we didn't get a chance to dive into the second round, and I was solo on that, and I missed you. I did my best on what I could in the absence of yourself, but I had somebody ask me upstairs at a local bar here in Sault Ste. Marie, and they asked me, Dave, I'm gonna ask that guy because he's a podcast guy, and I didn't really know who this guy was, to be honest. If I did know him, I apologize. But nonetheless, he said, mentioned the podcast, which is cool, but he mentioned, who do you think's going to win? And I gave him that look going, ugh, you're going to make me say it? Or you're not recording, right? Obviously, I believed in the Hounds, a great players, great team, but that Kitchener team was just so powerful. And I did say Kitchener in 6. That was my prediction. And I know you would probably be aligned to that. To say that they were going to win, I don't think, not that the Hounds couldn't have done it, but they just were not there. But before we talk Hounds and before we get into that interactive piece that I mentioned, because I know we only have 10 minutes actually on this segment, OHL playoffs, we know our finals.
Yes,
we didn't get a chance to do predictions, but I'm very surprised that it wasn't Brantford. I thought it was going to be a Brantford-Kitchener final. We're not going to have the chance to see that. Barrie with, let's call it the upset, of course, beating Brantford, going on to the finals against Kitchener. What's your preview about the finals and as we near Memorial Cup time in Major Junior?
I'm going to go with Kitchener, but I think it's going to be a lot closer than, I don't think not many people predicted this. So realistically, all the matchups and everything was probably going to say Brantford versus Kitchener or Windsor, right? Like that was probably mostly what everybody thought, or everybody's bracket had Brantford easily as the East champion, and then probably one of Kitchener or Windsor as the West champion. So Barrie being there kind of throws a wrench in things. From what I've read, I haven't watched, but from what I've read and from what I've looked at stats wise, it seems like if Ben Horevic, Barrie's goaltender, who stopped 94 of 97 shots he faced in game 6 and 7 of that series.
Is that good?
Including a shutout in game 7, a 40-shot shutout. And not to mention they were down 3-1 in the series and won game 5 in overtime. Well, Brantford had the opportunities to win this series, and like good on Barrie to come back and win 3 in a row, 2 of which in overtime.
3 in a row is the surprise.
Yeah,
against
and
a team like Brantford. That's the surprise of that series.
Yeah, I mean they really pressed on the gas and stuck with their system and stuck to their structure, and beat the favorite, the heavy favorite, to I think win the OHL.
Win it all. I thought this was Kitchener's year. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yeah, I would think like they are the favorite going into it. I mean, they've already proved that they can knock off a heavy favorite, so you're not going to want to take them lightly. Barrie, I think, has the edge in goal, so that will play a part, and I think special teams are probably going to come into play too. We saw Kitchener, how much their power play, like how big of a role it played even in the Greyhounds series. So, Kitchener's power play is going to be huge, and then obviously Barrie's power play is going to be huge as well. So you're going to have a lot of like a big special teams battle to see who's going to come out on top, really away from the 5-on-5 play.
100%. Now, as I said, with Kitchener going there, I still consider them the favorite to win that. And I thought the Greyhounds played Kitchener better than Windsor did, to be honest with you. I know that's a very hot take by people, but it's very, I just watching that series more, potentially that's what I saw.
I mean, it was pretty, it's funny how even it went. Like, obviously, Kitchener, I didn't think they were going to beat Windsor in 5. I thought Windsor had a good shot at winning this series, let alone kind of dropping in 5. So, I mean, like, good on Kitchener for kind of sticking with it. They're got a really solid team, like, structure-wise. I didn't think that the Hounds were that far out of the series as it showed. I mean, a bounce here, a bounce there might have got them an extra win or two. But yeah, it came down to just Kitchener's being older and more structurally sound, I thought.
That's a good example. Good example.
An inability to kind of like give George the opportunity to stop, like make solid saves. Like most of their goals came off odd man rushes and like 3-on-2s, 2-on-1s, guys wide open in front of that with lots of space and time, too much space and time. And Carter George being one of the best goalies in junior hockey, even he is not going to stop many of those. So it was a tough series. And obviously leading into the changes that are coming in the Greyhounds organization, I think that leads into it perfectly. As you mentioned, John Dean is no longer the head coach of the Sioux Greyhounds. And while have been no other changes announced yet, there could very well be more to come, more than likely, I would say, in the hockey ops. And so we're going to see this organization go in a new direction for the first time since 2018. Yeah, when they had Drew Pennis. And that was the last year that the Greyhounds were past the second round of the playoffs. So,
and this is key because I mentioned on the Sioux Greyhounds fan club Facebook page, which is heavily followed here in Sault Ste. Marie, and we appreciate all the reactions. It did have, I'll give an exact number. I'm not considering say there was thousands of comments. There wasn't. The exact number was 52 comments at the time of this recording, which, hey, for people to respond to a local platform, that's pretty good. And I love the reactions. I said I would do what I can to mention out names. I'm going to go through that quickly. On my post, I gave my 3 favorites, 3 fresh one friend of the show, Jordan Smith, Krasgos, I always pronounce his last name wrong, butcher me below, and Brendan Taylor was the three options, but there were some interesting names brought up. The funniest one was from Nick Gordon saying Mike Babcock. I'll have to give him compliments for that one. I think that's one I had to mention. Jim Cappy mentioning, who's a coach of mine, Jason Fortier and Jordan Smith. You can look at Mark Little said Jordan Smith and Jason Fortier. The consensus was definitely Fortier, Jordan Smith, and Drew Bannister, but Derek Brooks, Jordan Smith. Bear Koch was Jordan Smith, and Drew Bannister was an option he mentioned. Mo Saint-Don said Belanger as an option. That was one that floated around. David Wilson said Jordan Nolan. Why not reach out to Jordan Nolan? Then there was continuous response of Bannister and Smith. Smith just invading. That names go down from obviously Mikey J, Catherine Smiley, Joey Burnetta, Garrett Willis, Brandon Gagne saying Bannister and Smith, Renee Fortier, who I know, Jason Fortier said on a biased opinion, but nonetheless, Jason Fortier
was a relation there, I'm guessing.
Yes, it seems that way, and obviously
interesting. I will say, no, I know my uncle mentioned him too, David Gagne. He might, or Tijo Gagne. He might be in those comments as well. He mentioned he's interesting. He's an interesting choice. I feel like they will or have had interest in the role for them to like agree to part ways, because I think he only has 1 year left. So I feel like I don't have any leads on who it is, or I mean, I honestly.
Who do you want to see before we let you go? Who do you want to see?
Wow, I don't even like.
I want to see Jordan Smith. I
Bannister.
want to see Jordan Smith. I will be honest. That's who.
Well, and Jordan Smith coached 1 year with Dean, right? So if you remember that, I think it was Dean's first year. Jordan Smith was his assistant.
But why would new blood not hurt? Fortier is new blood, and Jeff Krasgos, I'm a fan of bringing in from a team that's successful. Kitchener's still in the playoffs. I think Jeff makes the most sense. Jordan Smith. Taylor is an obvious choice, but I think that new blood piece, and I consider Jordan still new blood, even though he's not. It's still, he's been gone for a while. Yeah, he's been doing different things. But if you had one name, Trudes, who are you picking? Who's your guy? I know you've thought about it. There's got to be a guy you're thinking of. Right on the spot. I got to do it. Everyone else put their opinion. I had someone say Mike Bab.
I'm so bad at decisions. It's funny. I am. But like, I don't have a clear-cut name for you. Like I don't know. I like locally, like my mind keeps going back to Drew Bannister. Like I feel like that's been kind of in the back of my mind ever since he did make a trip up here this past year. So he was here. I know he was on the ice with the Hounds a few times. It feels like a fit. However, comes back to legacy, right? And I know we're kind of like a little over time. Like names like Ted Nolan and Craig Hartsburg were brought up too in your on your
Someone
post.
said Jordan Nolan as well.
Well, that's different, right? But like Ted Nolan and Craig Hartsburg, like they have legacy. Bannister has a legacy. Do we want to just kind of leave that where it is, right? Like they are Hounds legends, or do you want to bring them back? I don't know. But Drew Bannister is the name that comes to my mind when I think of who's going to coach the Greyhounds next season.
Love it. But
that. There's changes. There's probably more changes coming too.
Yeah, it's from the higher ups, 100%.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that. I love the interaction. I think we know how we want to get responses for the show. I think we figured it out. Instead of just the clips, we will include everyone on those for sure with us going forward. And Trudes, I want to say thank you, my friend, for taking the time, as always, here on Chuck a Puck. And till our next segment, man, we're going to be talking probably Mem Cup by that point.
Yep. Sounds good.
Welcome back to the Game Sports Podcast. It's been one heck of a show. Like I talked about the second segment, said enough draft lottery, enough Toronto Maple Leafs drama, enough hockey. Of course, I will dare to remind you, the number 1 overall pick is owned by the Toronto Maple Leafs. I will remind you, because I feel like it. But you know what? It is not hockey time. We've talked hockey twice on this show already. We've had Brennan. We've had Trudes. Now you got me and Connor. We can talk hockey. We can talk anything, Connor and I. But this is dedicated to the Strike Zone segment, and baseball season's in full swing. It's been a few weeks, if not a bit more, since Connor and I have been able to sit down because of the dang technological failures that happen at times with microphones, but we figured it out today. And Connor, how you doing, my friend? The rookie of the year, if you know, you know.
I'm in a grumpy mood today, Dave. I'm running on low sleep. I slept like 4 hours on Sunday doing work, and last night was maybe 4 or 5. I shouldn't complain. I know you've got a child. I do not. So these sleepless nights are few and far between for me. But I'm coming off back-to-back ones right now, and I feel like death incarnate.
I'm going to be transparent with you, and I know a lot of moms and parents out there are not going to be big fans of me saying this, but my son has been basically sleeping through the night since he's been 2.5 months old. Knock on wood, he is now 11 months old next week, which would be May 19th. He'd be 11 months old, almost a year. So it's not him that's causing me to lose sleep. I want people to know that. He's had a couple nights where would be when he has had those couple nights where he's not good, I get excited to get up because I don't get to live that moment as much, to feel having to need to help him in the middle of the night when he's not feeling good or comfortable, because it's only happened twice. So my wife and I get up together those 2 times that it happened just so we can embrace that. And I'm not saying that as much as people are probably going to comment below or send me hate mail. You're allowed to. I get it, because I know there's been parents that have dealt with babies that don't sleep. And I commend you in a respecttive way that I've never respected anybody in my life. I want people to know that. But we're talking baseball. Maybe this is baseball because my son, or one of those, whatever. We never know. We might have one of those in the family. I know it wasn't me that did that in men's league. But nonetheless, Connor, you know what? There's 2 topics we're diving about with baseball today. 1 is fees. 2 is about just updating the world of baseball. And we're going to start hot. And I think you know exactly where I'm starting to. Last week, I shared news with you, and I'm making sure that I pivot this information correctly. Okay, so I'm not mentioning leagues. People can assume. Doesn't matter. I didn't say it. I've done research outside of Sault Ste. Marie. So this isn't just Sault Ste. Marie. The fees in baseball. Now, people are like, what are you talking about, fees in baseball? What do you guys pay, $100? Look, hockey's expensive. Hockey's very expensive. I know that from friends in youth. I know playing when I was younger, and I know if my son plays that the fees are just astronomical. Paying 5 digits a year for hockey is absolutely insane. But for men's league hockey, in the league here in Sault Ste. Marie, in the Mayor's League, it's called the Mayor's Men's Open Division. Very competitive division here in the Soo. If you're from the Soo, we're a very hockey-driven community. A lot of good hockey players play in that league, former pros. Well, obviously they're all former pros. Not all, but like if they're not anything now because they played pro, or you got guys who played junior, you got guys who played major, junior, whatever, all sorts of talent. And I like to say that the 80s, 90s, thousands birth years are a very impressive hockey talent here in Sault Ste. Marie, and I'm not tripping anything after that. I just haven't seen it yet. But we pay $325 a year for Mayor's Men's League Hockey in Sault Ste. Marie. That covers 30 games in the regular season, plus 4 or 5 or 6, depending on the season, Mayor's games. So almost 36 games, which almost equates to house league games. Think of that for a minute. We pay for Zamboni, ref, scorekeeper. That is paid out of our fees. This year, there was 6 teams. Why is that comparable? Well, in baseball, in Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, there's a men's open division. That's how Connor and I even came closer, was because of the team we played for called the Renegades, now called the 91N Pandas. 2-time back-to-back champions, mind you, a couple years ago, no longer champions after being defeated by the Flamingos, and a dominant team now in the league called the Cardinals that is absolutely just unbelievable. A lot of good ball players in Sault Ste. Marie too. A lot of people don't know that. There's a lot of good ball talent in Sault Ste. Marie, especially in that age group. Connor's one. He won't tell you that. Colton Reed, there's another name. Baiocchi is another name. There's a lot of names in the Soo. A lot of good names. If you think of the team like the Flamingos, you'd give J.J. Bergman, Binkley, drafted by the Mets. Dare I need to say more? The fee started in 2017 as $125. It went up to $150 in 2018. I believe it was $150. Now, I'm not talking about Sault Ste. Marie like I told you. I told you I'm not going to talk about what it is now. I'm going to tell you what I paid before. This in Ontario, here and out of province, have seen a massive increase in fees for men's league participation, women's league, softball leagues, and for youth leagues. Now, in Southern Ontario, they haven't seen the same increases as they have in Northern Ontario, out of province as well, that being Alberta. I'm just going to stick to Alberta. I got some information about Alberta. Is very similar to Sault Ste. Marie, where Manitoba is very similar to the GTA area. And both those provinces, Alberta and Manitoba, are very low enrollment. And the talent there, I don't know, can't speak of. But again, I've heard that it's not too competitive, is what I was told. So I don't know what that means, because our league as well, you had me who never played before until I played. So, I mean, I think I'm pretty good at baseball, but that's because I'm being confident. I know if you line me up against Connor, it's pretty easy. So I'm not going to talk about competitiveness or levels. I'm just going to talk about fees overall is what I'm. And I've done my research outside of Sault Ste. Marie. I stopped at 2018 to tell you what I paid to play baseball. But let me tell you something that I will say. That's Sault Ste. Marie based, outside based. I'm keeping in mind if I'm not chirping or calling out one league, mindful of that. I pay more for baseball now. That is equivalent, not just in a Sault Ste. Marie, it's a province and potentially nationwide challenge. And a lot of it is youth baseball. The leagues are all combined. And all help out each other. And I know that's how it is in Sault Ste. Marie and outside, and I don't know how it is fully outside, but I know fees are high. So Connor, as I get into that spiel for about 5-6 minutes, I want to talk to you about the fees in baseball being of high enrollment for youth baseball and for men's. And not talking about a league, but is it warranted based on these increases? Like, does it make sense to do that in baseball, or does it depend? Or what can you give as feedback?
So speaking in generalities, baseball was always in Canada one of the cheaper option sports. You play in the summertime. Typically, if you have a glove, you're good. And teams usually would supply bats, thing of catcher's gear for your team for your season. Everybody shares, everybody's fine. Hockey typically was the rich kids' sport, or at the very least, it would thin out a lot of lower income families who just couldn't afford not only the gear or the cost to get into the leagues, but the repeated need to buy new stuff. I had the same baseball glove from age 14 through 24. In hockey, when you're growing up and you're growing in and out of all of your gear, you're basically cycling through all of your stuff every 1 to 2 years as you go through your growth spurts. You don't really have the same sort of thing in baseball. What I can say also in part of with that is a lot of wealthier families now, especially with the cost of living crisis in Canada, are the ones who don't really care about fees going up, some of which are oftentimes the administrators or the volunteers who have the money and the time to volunteer in a sport, whereas lower income families oftentimes are busy working or they don't have the luxury of free time to volunteer and help run those organizations. Maybe they get less of a voice that way, where increased costs, who might hit harder on a low income family. Well, the people in those rooms making those calls are typically older, typically wealthier, whether it's non-for-profit boards or parent volunteers. Oftentimes, if you're unemployed or if you're in those sorts of volunteer roles, it's because you have the luxury to be able to. And obviously, there's a commitment that comes with it, but it's part and parcel. Like it's you're volunteering your time, but also it's because you can volunteer your time and increased costs often, especially with inflation in the last 5 to 6 years, basically post-COVID. It's been quite aggressive. So if you take something like Dave mentioned in 2018 that you paid and you say, okay, what's that plus 8 years worth of aggressive inflation in the economy, where do we land? I can say locally, umpires in baseball games are paid more if they're umpiring games at higher levels. So an open league game for Dave McCaig and that league, the umpires get paid substantially more than umpires who umpire rookie ball games. So when I was umpiring, I would get paid, $18 or so for doing bases for a Mosquito game, which was 9-year-old kids. I'd get paid $18. But the guys who would do a plate game for, U18 rep would get paid $55, $60. So all else equal, it is more expensive to run older games than it is to run younger games. Also, the older games oftentimes are played at night, where you have to pay electricity associated with turning on lights at fields, which younger kids, they never play under the lights. They're home by 8 o'clock, 8:15. So the electricity associated and whatever costs might flow from that. Does it pale in comparison to the electricity costs to run a rink at a hockey stadium? Absolutely. But yeah, all else equal, older leagues require more experienced umpires who get paid more and oftentimes play at night, which costs more. And they're playing on better fields, which maintenance costs go into that as well. And sometimes older leagues, especially ones that are brand new, are subsidized in a way where, in order to build the league and garner interest, they may very well charge less than younger leagues will in order to generate the interest. And then once the league is up and running, those feeds catch up to the younger age groups. So those are all considerations that go into the pot. But it's suffice to say, we're in a really hard economy right now. A lot of families are struggling. A lot of guys, especially in the Sioux, affected by tariffs, layoffs, steel plant making massive cuts, affecting so many people, not only who work there, but families of people who work there also affected, and, being conscious of their spending. And youth sports, with the ever-growing costs, and I say youth, but all sports with the ever-growing costs, as a luxury and as a fun outlet, is often where people feel that pain, because it's, when you come home from work, you want to go do something fun with your friends, like, let's go to the rink, let's go to the ballpark. And when that is taken away, or that's making it that much harder, it's like salt on the wound.
And that's a very good point. Your last point, talking about going to the rink and going to the ball fields. I still consider myself a new dad. I know it's going to be a year in June, which is wild. I know I was conceited at the beginning about saying how I sleep, but I'm a bad sleeper at night as it is. I don't sleep well, and I have a job that I really care about and that keeps on my mind all day. I'll thinking of if it's ideas or things, and I like to come home and be with my family. I want everyone to know that our baseball team that has been together since 2017 or 18 season, is still basically the same team. There's been some young guys that have added to it, but these are the same guys I've been playing baseball with for over 8 years. Trudeau and Connor here, listeners and viewers, are no longer with the team. Connor has an excuse. Trudeau doesn't. I still call Trudeau.
I'm glad I never had to get put in that situation, Dave, because all of my teammates are on the former team.
I hope, because you played with us when the Slugs were there. I hope you would have stayed with us, but Trude's didn't. But I get it. You got to play with your friends. I get it. But that's the point, right? So I talked about being a new dad. The point of that is I look forward to these sporting events that I have. The friend interactions and stuff, they're still there, and you try to connect, but you're not as much where you're going out every weekend or every night. So sports is that additional social aspect instead of those once in the odd time friend connections that you have now as you get older. Those are my disconnects, I like to call, from reality, or my active lifestyle that I still try to live despite gaining 50 pounds since I played hockey, that I look forward to challenging. But it's the increase in fees as a general scope. Some people may be okay with it, some not. And ultimately I am okay with it in regards to, because I want to play. I want to play with the team and my friends. But the league has grown a lot. In 2018, and for the Sioux, for example, and I'm using the Sioux here for an example in this case, is there was 4 teams. It went to 5, then to 6, then back down to 4 for COVID, and then we only had 3. We only had 3.
It got as low as 3 at one point.
It was 3. Now the Flamingos came back in the league, beat us in the finals that year. They first came when they were the came in the league. But after that, we had 2 new teams, Midland and the Cardinals. Now we're at 6, 5. I can't count. 5 teams. And there's a rumor I heard this year. I don't know if it's true or not. I was going to ask the chat, but I heard that there's going to be a 6th team this year. And if it's too college based or not too sure if they're coming back, because they were in the league before too for us. But nonetheless, 5 or 6 teams. This league is growing. And people are interested. People my age are interested, younger. And the fast pitch league is good. I had someone tell me they wanted to make a team this year, a friend of mine that played some fast pitch. The point of this discussion is the inflated costs. If we want to point to the Blue Jays being that reason, right, for youth because of how good they're doing. But this, Connor said at the beginning, this was an intent to be a more affordable sport in Canada. And that should always be the mindset of baseball because of our short summers here in Canada and because we're trying to grow the game. We're not hockey. And again, for the third time, I'm going to say, going back to me and your dad, this is my disconnect from being in that. I look forward to that's what I'll say. Again, I'll stress for the 8th time, I'm not pointing at anything Sault Ste. Marie related. I know it seems that way. Yes, there was an increase here in the Soo. Yes, there was question about it. But I'm saying as a wide discussion about fees. Keep the fees of baseball at an affordable rate. Saying, Connor, any final thoughts on that before we go to updates in MLB?
Yeah, I think just it's always good to be conscious of, locally what sort of capital expenditures have been made. I can say, like, in the Soo with baseball, the field's a lot different now than they did when I was playing as a teenager. I know our premier field had a lot of upgrades done to it, where when I was playing, it looked pretty rough. Now, I mean, they moved the dugouts, they added, score box, they pulled everything back so that it was new scoreboard, they pulled everything back behind home plate so that it was regulation distance. They added like all sorts of things, like a shed. They did work all around the premier field in a way where when I was playing, it looked like it had seen better days at that point, especially in the infield. So, there's capital expenditures in all sorts of youth sports, but I think it's always good to appreciate those families and where everybody's coming from and how expensive things can be, especially now, especially when jobs are getting lost every single day. And people are looking for that outlet, for that fun. It's always tough.
It's wild. And I know this topic went a little longer, and that's fine. I know I allowed it for about near 20 minutes on the show. We're a couple minutes over. But I want to dive into the major leagues as well. And anyone can comment below. Any other people that want to be a guest on the show to come discuss this. If you're from the Soo, outside the Soo, anything you want to come talk about, if you're involved or not involved, either way, your involvement in the game, we would be interested to get into that content about the charges of baseball. A popular complaint, but it started to come up for a lot of the communities that play men's league baseball in particular and youth baseball as well. So
Scooble, Dave, Scooble.
Talk to me, Connor.
2 to 3 months out with his elbow injury in the contract year of his lifetime. He was going to be the most highly sought after and highest paid pitcher ever. Might still be in free agency, but
he will be.
Suffered. Yeah, he needs to have surgery on his throwing arm and will be out likely 2 to 3 months. The Tigers are cooked right now. I mean, half of their rotation is on the IL. Sorry, is it DL now? IL. They're injured.
They're injured list, designated list. Like there's so
designated list, whatever it's referred to. Yeah, they're cooked, Dave. They're so cooked without Scooble.
That's a guaranteed win when you're on the mound. That's a guaranteed win when you have Scooble on the mound. And
they're a good team with them, but without them, oh boy.
And with the Guardians in that division and the White Sox surging right now, it's definitely a challenge, but you're really going to have to depend on some of the depth in that rotation for the Tigers. And I'm not sure if it's going to be able to keep up with the rest in that division, even though I'm not a big this year. I've seen the Cleveland Guardians and seen some recent posts. People think Max Fried's a better pitcher. You're crazy. Tarek Skubal is by far the best pitcher in baseball right now. I would rather take Skubal on a half an arm than half the league. Okay, so interesting take. Love seeing the Athletics getting up just in time for when they go to Vegas pretty soon. It's pretty coincidental. Vegas is going to have another great sports team to eventually watch. Love seeing the Astros down. It's great. Angels. How many times, how many years are we going to... You know what? We're not going to talk about it, but Mike Trout, free the man.
He's cooking this year, Dave. He's cooking.
Cooking, but trade the man. You know how I talk about Vlad, pay the man?
Yeah.
You know what Trout is? Free the man.
Can I talk about one guy who's really cool right now in the MLB? Munetaka Murakami out in Chicago.
Yes.
His first season in the MLB, the South Side Samurai, going toe-to-toe with Aaron Judge, both with 14 home runs right now in the battle for most in the league. What a cool story there.
What a great story. And you can't discount even Kazuma Okamoto from the Jays. near 10 home runs. You got to love that. The Japanese players coming into the league and finding their swing. Obviously, always pronounce his name wrong. Let's call him the samurai from the south side. He's doing Murakami.
Murakami. 30 hits, 14 of which are home runs. It's hilarious. Like, he's just
bomb or nothing. It reminds me of the old-fashioned days with Sammy Sosa, Barry Bonds, and those guys that just either hit bombs or just walked. The Braves have refound their identity, obviously being top. The Phillies, you know what I love in that division? New York Mets. Hey, Bo Bichette, how we doing? Huh? I don't care where the Jays are right now. The Jays are playing decent for a team that's missing 14 regular guys out of their lineup. I don't care what anybody says, their excuse. It doesn't matter if you're missing half or your full freaking roster. Connor, how many guys to a roster when you play baseball? 26 guys.
Yeah, 26. Yeah, 25.
They're missing 14 guys.
It's not good.
That's a lot. Now they've got Trey back. They got some guys back. So I think it's more like 12 now, 11, but it still doesn't matter. Okay. Don't be chirping the Blue Jays below. Okay. Tigers, you know what? They're still first in their division, even though it's Scuba. So don't be even chirping the Tigers. But yeah, Mets fans out there. And what do I say about the Cubs? Division favorites in my eyes this year. I love the Cubs. The Brewers for me though, Connor, have to be the biggest surprise for me, being just near 500. I thought after last year, they were going to find their stride, but that's a surprise on the negative end. But the Cardinals, Jordan Walker living up to expectation. And these guys, they're looking good in the Central. That Central division's looking real competitive. They got 3 teams that have 20 wins.
Yeah, the National League Central's hilarious when you compare it to the American League Central, where the last place Brewers at 18 and 16 have a better record on balance than the first place Tigers do in the AL Central at 18 and 18. Pretty ridiculous.
Do you think they should change? Let's ask you this question. I know we've talked about this. I think we have, but let's talk about it again before we wrap up the show and get to, because obviously we dove into almost 8 minutes extra here, which is actually allotted because we had less time with Trudes tonight. So we're actually only technically near 5 minutes over from our allotted show. So that's fine. Do you think baseball should ever change its seeding for baseball for have divisions, but change its seeding for playoff positions?
The divisions sort of just,
like, you have the 3 wild cards, right? Which is, I guess, fair, but I guess you keep the division alignments, what I'm saying, but treat it like a conference base. Or is that takes away the game of baseball? Don't get me wrong. It's a whole other conversation. But do you think it can ever be an attraction to have a more of a seeding based playoff in baseball?
Perhaps. I like that they've introduced the wildcard system they have now because more teams have a fighting chance. Previously, when it was just, best team gets in, that's it. Or it's really hard for some teams to ever get a chance. But once you introduce this play-in round, wildcard round, whatever you want to call it, anything can happen in a 3-game series. Anything can happen in a 1-game playoff. So it evens out the playing field a little bit.
It does. It does, 1%. Now, I talked about the Jays a little bit in terms of depth, but I will say to everybody out there, Vlad has found his swing, but he's not hitting bombs. Izuma Okamoto looking great. The bullpen is throwing a lot of duds. Hoffman's not a closer. There's a lot there that we could talk about Jays if we get a chance to, but for people saying that the Jays people should be panicking, no. It does suck when you lose against your division, though. Those are the games that the Jays have to find ways to win, is in their own division. Despite being men down, you have to find ways to win. And that's what I'll say about the Tigers. Despite Scuba being out, you still got Verlander on that mound. Okay. You still got some.
He's been out too, Dave.
I know, but you still got guys that, could get the job.
Yeah, he won't be out long term. I hear what you're saying.
You know what I'm saying? You got some swag there. The Tigers bounce back, especially in a division that I think is more of the weaker division in baseball.
Oh God, yes. Oh God, yeah.
Just saying.
100%. Yeah. They're a poverty division.
My favorite thing this year, though, to this point, I think is quite obvious. Bo Bichette. How is the seller? I'll say it. I don't care. How is the seller? Sellout. Okay? Anyways, I'll leave it on that note. Connor, any final thoughts before we wrap up the show tonight?
No, Dave. I am tired. I am ready to go to bed. So it's been great chatting.
I will let you go to bed, and I appreciate your patience beforehand with all the mic stuff, and you stayed patient to jump on here tonight. So thank you for Strike Zone. We're going to be off for another 2 weeks after tonight, so we'll touch base after the long weekend. We tend to do shows after stats. Or on long weekends. It always adds up that way. But we will have a show the week in a couple weeks after the May long weekend. So we hope everyone has a great weekend, and Connor, or a great long weekend and great upcoming couple weeks. Connor, hope you the same as well, and hope all is well, my friend, and you get some sleep tonight.
Thanks, brother. Take care. All the best to you and everyone.
Definitely, thank you. And I want to thank you again to Brendan McCarthy for our top shelf segment. I want to thank you to Trudes for our Chuck a Puck segment, Connor for our Strike Zone segment, and to you, the listeners and viewers. Make sure you like, follow, and subscribe on the Game Sports Podcast. Information will be below. But on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, Spotify, Apple, YouTube, on 91 Network, you will find us. Okay, you can find us on ChatGPT, Gemini. We're all over the place. Search the Game Sports Podcast. It's going to say booyah at you, and it's going to send you our link. It does do that. Give it a try. Fun fact. Yes, give it a try. And I want to give a shout out to Spaces, to Village Media, and to Today. If you want to be part of the interaction or even potentially be a fan guest on the show, please don't hesitate to comment below. We love fan interaction like we did earlier tonight, the Sioux Greyhounds coaching search. So until next time, I'm here to remind you to keep your stick on the ice, swing your bats, catch touchdowns, drain your threes, and shoot your shots. Booyah.